Welcome to another monthly portfolio update. If you are stopping by for the first time, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. In this video, I will share with you how much I invested in my taxable account in February, how many shares I bought, and the value of my portfolio at the end of February. But as always, before I continue, a quick disclaimer. The information that I'm sharing is not financial advice. Before you invest in anything, please do your own research and make sure that you only invest in things that you understand. With that being said, I will dive right into my portfolio update. I will start with a quick recap of my January portfolio to show you the value of the portfolio and how many shares I had before the beginning of February. The total value of my portfolio at the end of January was $57,655.06. $57,646.40 was the market value of my investments, and $8.65 was a cash amount. At the end of January, my portfolio was up $8,148.92. This was plus 16.46%. These are my holdings, 2 Vanguard ETFs and the 2 BlackRock ETFs. VCN is a Vanguard ETF that tracks the Canadian market. I had 90 shares of VCN at the end of January. VFV is a Vanguard S&P 500 Index ETF. This is the Canadian version of VOO. I had the 260 shares of VFV at the end of January. XEQT is a BlackRock ETF. This is an all-in-one equity ETF which holds Canadian equities, US equities, developed market equities outside of North America, and the emerging market equities. I had the 438 shares of XEQT at the end of January. If you are interested in a single equity ETF which is globally diversified, you might consider looking into XEQT or its Vanguard equivalent, which is VEQT. XUU is a BlackRock ETF which tracks the US total stock market, and I had the 238 shares of XUU at the end of January. I will now show you how much I invested in February and how many shares I bought. I bought 2 shares of VCN. The cost per share was $42.28. The total cost, $84.55. This was 16% of the amount that I invested in February. I bought 2 shares of VFV. The cost per share was $118.89. The total cost, $237.77. This was 44% of the amount that I invested in February. I bought 4 shares of XEQT. The cost per share was $28.81. The total cost, $115.25. This was 21% of the amount that I invested in February. I bought 2 shares of XUU. The cost per share was $49.78. The total cost, $99.56. And this was 19% of the amount that I invested in February. In total, I bought 10 shares, all the ETFs combined. And the total amount that I invested was $537.13. This was $217.50 less than the amount that I invested in January. As you can see here, in January, I invested $754.63. And in February, $537.13. The difference is minus $217.50. The total equity of my portfolio at the end of February was $61,512.28. $61,490.08 was the market value of my investments, and $21.48 was a cash amount. At the end of February, my portfolio was up $11,456.19. This is a plus 22.90%. As of February the 29th, I had 92 shares of VCN, 262 shares of VFV, 442 shares of XEQT, and 240 shares of XUU. All right, let's now take a look at some quick details about each of the positions. I will start with VCN. The closing market price on February the 29th was $43.65. The quantity of shares that I had, 92. The average price, $40.52. The book value, which is how much I have invested in VCN, was $3,728.54. The market value was $4,015.80. This was 6.53% of my portfolio. VCN was up $287.26, or 7.70%. Next, we have VFV. The closing market price on February the 29th was $122.87. The quantity of shares that I had, 262. The average price, $96.64. The book value was $25,321.06. The market value was $32,191.94. This was 52.33% of my portfolio. VFV was up $6,870.88, or 27.14%. Then we have XEQT. The closing market price on February the 29th was $29.33. The quantity of shares that I had, 442. The average price, $25.24. The book value was $11,158.74. The market value was at $12,963.86. This was at 21.08% of my portfolio. XEQT was up $1,805.12, or 16.18%. Finally, we have XUU. The closing market price on February the 29th was $51.33. The quantity of shares that I had, 240. The average price, $40.94. The book value was $9,826.27. The market value was at $12,319.20. This was at 20.03% of my portfolio. XUU was up to $2,492.93, or 25.37%. The stock market continued its rise in February, driven by the Magnificent Seven companies, with all the fuss around AI, especially NVIDIA, and an expectation from investors that the Fed and other central banks will start cutting interest rates in the coming months. My portfolio went from 16.46% at the beginning of February to 22.90% at the end of February. This is an increase of 6.44%, and I only invested $537 in February. The S&P 500's return in February was 5.17%, and it crossed for the first time the 5,000 mark. In just a little less than 3 years, the S&P 500 increased from 4,000 to 5,000 and is currently at an all-time high. Whether the market will keep rising for the rest of the year remains to be seen. We might experience a correction sometime during the year, or we might see a continuous rise for the rest of the year. No one really knows what's going to happen in the short term. The most important thing is to stay invested, dollar cost average in the market, and really work on your investing psychology. By that, I mean avoid being overzealous and going on an investing spree when the market is at an all-time high, and being scared when there's a correction and sell your investments. Such a behavior will be detrimental to your wealth building journey. As Jack Bogle used to say often, you need to stay the course. All right, feel free to leave a comment below. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time with another update. Peace out.